Good afternoon, everyone. And as you know, I'm Zenzi Sewa, and this is Spiritual Infinity. And my guest today is in North Dakota, and the weather's not too good. It's not too good here in London either. But her name is Victoria Volk. I hope I'm saying that right, Victoria.
Yes.
And she is a grief specialist, amongst many things, author, but she's going to talk more on that. But as you know, it's about our spiritual journey. What made us connect to our spiritual journey? How did it start? Majority of times in our childhood, things that went on. But Victoria's going to speak about her journey. So I'll hand you over to Victoria in North Dakota. Hi, Victoria.
Hi, thank you so much, Zenzi, for having me. I very much appreciate the opportunity.
So today we're going to hear from you about your spiritual journey, how you started. So please share with us.
How much time do you have?
Start at the beginning, just please.
So, okay.
I take it.
Yeah. Yeah, like you said, usually our adulthood can be traced back to our childhoods, because we always resort to what we know, and what we know is what we learn in childhood. And in fact, by the age of 3, we've learned 75% of how to respond to life, and the remaining 25% comes by age 15. So when we say children are impressionable and are like sponges and take everything in, it's very true. The very first experiences children often have with grief or loss or anything like that is with a pet. And that's where they learn their first messages about how to respond to grief. Parents might say, "Oh, that's okay, Johnny, we can get another puppy tomorrow," or, let's just replace the loss, right? Like, a child isn't given the space and opportunity to express how they feel about the loss of that first pet right away. They're just introduced to a new pet that's supposed to replace the loss and make them feel better. So in one fell swoop, a child is learning, don't feel bad, replace the loss, grieve alone, right? Because they aren't given that opportunity to really share what that relationship meant to them. Yeah. And we learn that from our parents, because the parents often are quick to resort to what they know, right, in grief and loss, and to behaviors to feel better and want to replace the loss, just like children do. Yeah. So this is how that generational patterning continues. So for me as a child, my mother had lost her mother to cancer. She had lived with us for a short period of time. I would have been about 6 years old, 7. And she died when I was about 7. And simultaneously, my father was also stage 4 colon cancer. And so she lost her mother a year later, lost her husband of 17 years, my father. I was 8. And
in the space of 1 year?
In 1 year.
She lost
within 1 year.
And her husband?
Yes.
Oh.
And she had a lot of difficulty with her oldest child too. He was going through his own stuff. So she just had a lot of emotional upheaval in her life. And as you imagine, I'm 8 years old. Like, I'm a child. I still have a lot of emotional needs, right? As a young child that were not met. And so I was and what does a mother do, right? Like, now she's a widow, and I had 2 other siblings that were still living in the home. One was 18, so she was about to leave. And then my brother was 5 years older than me, 14. So it was a really difficult period. And then to add insult to injury, within the few years following my father's death, then I was molested. So by the age of 14, I had plenty of anger to go around. And my relationship with my mother was not good. It wasn't healthy. It wasn't productive. It wasn't emotionally stable. And she remarried, and that marriage wasn't good. He was a kind man to me. But he was gone a lot. Like, he was a long haul trucker, so he wasn't really around. But when he was around, then they argued and it wasn't a healthy marriage. So I just really did not have a really good example of what emotional intelligence looked like, what emotional regulation looked like. And
Can
yeah.
I ask you a question? Your father died when you were 8.
Mm-hmm.
So prior to that, how was your relationship with your mother and father?
Well, because my dad was actually sick, he was stage 4, but he actually lived for 16 months. But he passed away in the nursing home. It got to the where my mother couldn't care
Yeah.
for him anymore and all of that. And then again, she was dealing with my grandmother. So I was shuffled around a lot between neighbors, friends of the family, things like that. I was always kind of shuffled here and there because I was younger and
Yeah.
my 14-year-old, yeah, my teenage brother wasn't going to babysit his little sister, right? So I was the one that was kind of just shuffled around and not really included, right, in what was happening and what was going on. And I remember even the day of the funeral, I distinctly remember hearing someone say, well, she's so young, she doesn't understand what's going on anyway.
What, at 8 years old? I think she does.
I distinctly, like, that is like seared into my brain because I'm sure at that age, I'm like,
Really?
Like, I don't see my dad in a coffin and
And you
I
don't
don't,
know that he's dead?
right?
No, a
That's
2-year-old maybe, a 3-year-old maybe, at 8? No, I think
But
not.
even a 3-year-old understands this.
Mhm.
Even a 3-year-old understands. Children comprehend way more than we give them credit for. But then on the flip side of that, we say, oh, they're so resilient.
Oh,
Children are resilient.
they
I
can,
absolutely hate that.
they can get
Children don't have a choice. Adults who have agency and free will and
yeah,
choice, right,
yeah,
are resilient. They learn to adapt and are resilient. Children don't have a choice.
no.
So I learned really early on how to adapt and how to respond and really how to read a room, emotionally read a room. I'm hypersensitive to the energy in rooms of people and like what's happening and tone of voice. And so I became very hyper vigilant around those things. And I slept a lot as a child. Like all of the pictures I have, interestingly, fit in this sandwich Ziploc bag. Like I have a little stack like this. Like there wasn't a lot of pictures taken, but the most of them that I have of me, I'm sleeping. I missed a birthday party because I fell asleep. Like my mom didn't wake me up. She just took a picture of me. It's like, I think I required a lot of sleep. I was just like emotionally,
Strange.
yeah, I'm very much an empath. And in hindsight, in hindsight, I realize now what that was. Yeah. So it's been quite a journey of understanding energy, understanding how emotions create energy in our bodies. That's been a huge help to me in just understanding my childhood and connecting dots for myself in my adulthood too.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So spiritually though, like I blamed God. By the time I was in high school, I was just like, I went through the motions. I did get confirmed and did those classes and all of that, but
You
it
were
did.
a Catholic?
No, I was raised Lutheran.
Oh, Lutheran. Okay.
Yeah, I was raised Lutheran, went through confirmation and all of that. I think I was like 16 or something, but never went to church after my dad passed. And one of the other things too, I didn't mention was that when my father passed away, I also lost that whole side of the family because there was a lot of hurt feelings between both sides, stories that were passed down, which that's another podcast episode. And so yeah, my cousins, my uncles, aunts, like my grandparents, like I grew up without grandparents. Because my grandfather, my mother's father had died the year I was born.
Okay.
So, and then She lost her mother. Yeah.
Year
And then,
before your father died.
yes. Yeah.
But
And
you had grandparents on your father's side.
right. But once he passed, they were no longer in my life
Why?
because there was hurt feelings between both sides regarding my dad. And again,
Another
it's
story for
all,
another time.
yeah, it's the adult stories and the adult, the inability for adults to be adults.
Yeah.
That the children become the collateral damage of that, right? Like I didn't then have a relationship with them because, you know, I'm sure there was a lot of things my mother was upset about. So she didn't make it a priority for me to be a part of their life or vice versa. And maybe they didn't try. I don't even really know. I never got a card, even, you know, a birthday card or anything. So did they try? Right? Yeah, they didn't try either. So
They didn't try either.
so yeah, I lost.
Even if there's argument between the two sides, the child is there. My granddaughter's still there. And okay, she's 8, 9, 10. You send a card. You just say, how is Victoria? Can I see Victoria? Can Victoria come over? Can she come over? Were your grandparents in the same state as you were living?
30 miles away.
Okay. Well, as I said, that's a discussion for another time.
Right. But it just speaks to the impact that adults, this is what I get passionate about, adults sweeping their own doorstep, because especially if you have kids, you have to sweep your own doorstep. The decisions you make, the choices you make, the choice not to heal yourself has an impact on your children long term, and on your relationship with them.
Yes. Because relationship with that other side of the family is different from them with your mother.
Right. But we project, right? We spill that stuff into the people closest to us. And it's like.
And you suffered.
Yes, I did. It had a tremendous impact on me. And so by the time I reached adulthood, I made up for all of that with behaviors that would make me feel better, right? I turned to alcohol, I turned to relationships. My license was almost suspended. I had so many speeding tickets and I almost lost my license. I should have lost my job because I was late all the time. Like my life was on a trajectory of, it wasn't good. It just wasn't good. I was managing. I looked good on the outside, right? But my life was chaos everywhere else.
What were you like as a teenager? Well, I know you got confirmed at 16, okay. But 16, 17, 18, what was going on then?
You know, I honestly, like I had one of my closest friends, she was kind of a rebellious type, but I knew right from wrong, innately knew right from wrong. And I graduated with honors. I was a good kid. I, didn't rock the boat. I didn't cause trouble. Was I home late a couple times? Yeah. Did I argue with my mom? All the time, but I didn't make life more difficult for her, put it that way. Like I wasn't raising Cain around town. And, I just.
You did what normal teenagers do.
I raised myself.
Oh gosh.
I did a pretty good job. I feel like I raised myself and I did a pretty good job. But I say that all the time. Like I raised myself. But yeah. And, Bob Ross raised me, Mr. Rogers.
So we go now into our early 20s, mid 20s, and as you said, so when you left school, what job was you doing? What did you graduate? What did you do?
Well, so I started a relationship going into my summer of my junior year in high school, and that relationship ended up lasting 5 years. 3 years too long, but 5 years. But I ended up following a boy, and yeah, that was
Yeah.
that was like that, you know, because I didn't have a good example of a healthy relationship. So I like was self-sacrificing to the nines and made sure that, you know, I didn't rock the boat, right? Like the people pleaser. All those things I learned, I just brought into that relationship, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, and to my own detriment, and it just it lasted 3 years too long, and I ended up joining the military,
Ooh,
and ended up joining the military, and what?
how, how did that go?
Well, I was older too when I joined. I was 20 when I joined, and um once I'm trying to think, like there's so much that happened in my young life, but because I wanted to go to college. That's what it was. Okay, well, let me backpedal. So when I graduated from high school, I wanted to go for clinical lab science. And this university was like 4 hours from home, and I'm like, perfect. Get far, far away. And I moved into my dorm, and I went and got I remember this like it was yesterday. I was so anxious about the financial part of it because we didn't have money. Like there wasn't and I was on my own financially to pay for college. And I didn't smoke, but I went and bought a pack of smokes, and I drove around this town and I smoked and stressed and thought. And Monday morning, I went into the administrative office, talked to the financial people, and felt like this enormous weight that was going to be over my shoulders. And
Yes.
I packed up my stuff and I left.
Okay.
I did not have the confidence or feel like I was strong enough or didn't feel like I could figure it out. And so I packed up and I left. Followed the boy. Ended up he joined the military. He went full time in the military, and so we did the distance thing for a time. I enlisted in the National Guard, and kind of we're just doing our own things, but maintaining this distance relationship. I realized, oh my God, this is a not a good relationship. Other things were happening there, and ended that relationship. And then a guy that moved to my town going into my junior year in high school. We were friends. Mind you, we were only just friends. Came to visit with another mutual friend of ours. And I don't know, it was like after that, he just started to pursue me. And simultaneously, in that time, like when this relationship was ending and before this friendship, this friend
Yeah.
came to visit, I had said a prayer. And I said, God, just please bring me someone who is good for me. We've been married 24 years. It was that friend. We were friends for 7 years before we got into a relationship. And he was just, he's like, I know what I want. And he was relentless. And I was like, oh, but we're friends. I don't want to ruin the friendship. And, but he was like an answered prayer. And so, 3 kids, 24 years later, here we are.
He stood his ground and he wasn't going anywhere. He knew what he wanted, and it was you.
And how that impacted me was, now mind you, up until that point, I wasn't going to church. I did not have God in my life. I hated God. I resented God. I thought he was ruining my life. I thought my life was one of suffering, that I'm just here to suffer. And we started to date, and he was Catholic, and ended up getting engaged actually pretty quickly. And he just said, I would never make you or ask you to do anything, but maybe this might be something you might be interested in. So I went to a class, and I was kind of hooked. Actually, it was just what was shared really resonated with me. About there was such a stark contrast between being raised Lutheran. There's no talk of the saints, there's no talk of Mary, and it was just, I really resonated with the deeper layers of the faith itself. And yeah, I converted, and yeah, that really set me off on this spiritual path of my own. And yeah, but like 2014 is when I had kind of a midlife unraveling. And then that's when I really started to look into my past and really start to look at, how did I get to here? And who am I? Why am I here? Like all those existential questions. My youngest was starting kindergarten, and I had my identity wrapped up in being a mom, and I had a photography business at the time. And I just was really questioning everything. And so that really just led me down a path of, I felt a little crazy actually too. I felt like, why can't I figure this out? Like, why am I felt crazy inside, right? And so I sought out it was like I made myself my own project, my personal development project. I took every personality test known to man. Yes.
You got married to this lovely man,
Mm-hmm.
3 children, not all the same time, of course. You converted to Catholicism, which resonated with you. And how long were you in that path before you felt unraveled? That right? Because obviously you went into it thinking, yes, this has helped me. You pray to God, you could see, and all the time you're praying. But then something inside you stopped, and it wasn't working. What made you stop? What made you feel it wasn't working? Where was that? When did that wall come in?
When my youngest was going to be starting kindergarten. And before that, actually, like I had started to like drink again.
Oh,
when my kids were younger. I had 3 kids in 4 years, and children will bring up all of your insecurities.
and it's
And and when you start drinking, when you're grilling supper,
that's a no. That's a sign.
and it's like 5 o'clock, and you still gotta put kids to bed, and and you try to rationalize that, a bottle of wine is only 4 glasses, but you're drinking a bottle of wine.
Yeah.
So I was starting to notice a pattern again. And then what tipped it off was my youngest was starting kindergarten, and I was still drinking, right? But it took me, I had another, so then what happened was in 17, my father's brother, who he was very close to, which was kind of the impetus for the family not being in my life anymore, like was that relationship with him kind of set things in motion where we weren't in each other's lives. So my uncle, the last time I'd seen him was at my father's funeral, which it was almost like 30 years to the day. It was really bizarre. But my mother had called me and said, your uncle has brain cancer and he's in the hospital. I didn't even question. I thought, I need to go see him. I hadn't seen him in 30 years, right? Since my dad died. But
Yeah.
I said, I need to see him. I felt this pull to go see him. I think it was my dad, really. Like my uncle, I think, needed that reconciliation as much as I did.
Yeah.
Here, and it really wasn't, it was like I was able to like lay down all the stories that I had been told, and it wasn't even about the past or anything. Like I just wanted to go and be there and see him. And we had 6 months of reconnection time. I felt closer to my dad than I had ever since he had passed. And it was a really beautiful experience for, I think, both of us. And I get teary-eyed just thinking about it.
All right. I could actually I can feel that.
Yeah. And I was actually in the editing phase of my book when that happened. And it was such beautiful timing. And my sister had gone to see him as well, and she didn't have the same experience. And I feel like it's because I went with a very different intention.
Yeah.
I didn't go for me. It's like I went for him. Because I felt like there was things in his heart that didn't sit well with him all these years, because he wasn't there for me either. Right. And so I felt like he needed that. And yeah, it was, and then I lost a friendship, as well. And so it was those two losses that really just like, whew, okay, grief is the thing here. And I haven't been looking at it ever. I did try hypnotherapy like in my early 20s in the meantime there. I had also deployed too. My husband and I both deployed to Iraq.
Okay.
Before we had kids. And so there was a lot to unpack in my life.
Lot you went through and witnessed and experienced.
Yeah, a lot of experience. And yeah, so yeah, that really set me off. And I just Googled one day, how to recover from grief, and the grief recovery method came up. And this is it. I'm like, this is it. This is what I need. And not only that, because at that point it was January 2019 or like end of 2018. January 2019, simultaneously I was like trying to build a business, and ironically it was not even about grief. It was about basically working with creatives, like brainstorming solutions with creatives. And I was talking on the phone. I had a happenstance conversation with my website designer, and she was like, "You wrote a book about grief, didn't you?" And I said, "Yeah." And she's like, "Why aren't you helping grievers?" So that conversation is why the Unleashed Heart even exists. So I completely abandoned that first idea, and the Unleashed Heart was born. I found this program and I thought, this could help me. It can help other people. I went and got certified. Actually, the first certification I scheduled for or planned or registered for got canceled. So I ended up having to go in a plane, where the first time I could have driven 5 hours. I ended up having to take a flight to Austin, Texas, spent more than I would have had to have originally, but that's how determined I was. And got so sick the first day. I had both ends. I was so sick. The instructor went and got Dramamine. She even says too, like, and I was the only one there that was actually there on my own choice for my grief. 2 other people that were there for advanced training. They were already specialists, and 2 other people were there paid for by their school. So it's like they were there because they wanted to be, but yet not for their own personal work. You know what I mean? So even the instructor said, she's like, "I've never, ever had a class like that ever. And I probably won't ever again." And then I was like sick as a dog, but I was still there. I laid across the chair. She went and got Dramamine, and I was there. But yeah, it's like the whole experience of getting certified in this program was really crazy too. But yeah, I would not change it. I came home a very different person. It's also the reason why my mother is still in my life. It's very much a very difficult relationship and always has been. And, she's unhealed, and I can't do that for her. And
sorry, let me tell, because when you said it's a difficult relationship, what I felt was it's because the way she handled things when you were young and the way you were treated, but at the same time she had to go through so much. And she probably had things in the past, especially with your father going on the other side of the family. She didn't have that help, so there was anger, and things within her, with the mother and husband going, your father's family, whatever's going on there. And God knows what she went through when she was young, growing up. So there's all that.
Mhm.
And unlike you, who have now, as time goes on, recognizing that you have to do something, your mother hasn't recognized it. And so
No.
plodding along. But because of what you're doing, you are able to forgive her, to understand her, to tolerate what she's doing, and to have that compassion to make the relationship work as best you can, because it does take two. You know, like your uncle, he had things to unload. You were willing to listen. You understood more, so the two of you came together. But with
Mhm.
your mother, she's still probably not understanding. You're understanding, and the difficulty is there. But you're doing a good job, so continue.
Yeah, and the way I see it, I'm breaking that cycle.
Yeah,
I'm
generation.
the chain breaker. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I think every family needs that one person
yeah,
to break that pattern for that to not continue. And
yeah.
that's really difficult to it's a hard torch to carry. It really is, but I didn't do it for my mother. I did it for my kids. Right. I mean, really, I did it for my kids um
You
and
did
I'm
it
so glad I
yourself.
did.
You did it for yourself because you
For
didn't want
myself.
to
Yeah.
you didn't want to pass on to your children what your mother did to you.
Hmm. And I was like, I was a very angry mom,
Yeah,
very angry. But, and then I look back at pictures and videos and things like that. I was also very loving and compassionate. And my kids even, oh, I remember when we used to like, I would do crafts with them. And I'm like, oh, I don't remember that. It's like how much I was there, but I really wasn't there because I was so wrapped up in my own emotional stuff. And that was my mother, all of my childhood, too wrapped up in her own stuff,
yeah.
you know?
Gosh.
And
So
that's the importance of what I want to share with people. If you are a parent, that's why it's so important.
yes,
It's like, I don't need to look at the past. The past is in the past. You can't change it and blah, blah, blah. Well, you can see it differently. And if you see it differently, you perceive it differently, it feels different in your body and you're
yeah,
not projecting and you can connect the dots and you can change your behaviors in the present because they're not based on what you experienced in the past.
yeah. You're so right. When you look back at certain things, and some people say, "Oh, weren't you angry or didn't you miss it?" No, I didn't blame her, because this. I saw what she went through, and it wasn't fair for her life, and she's right to do that. That's fine. And you have to look back, and it's always trying to remember that whatever happened, what they did to you was probably done to them and maybe worse. But we are so blessed that we can see it, recognize it, and say, hold on, this can change.
Mhm.
And we have the courage to do it. And so we're really blessed and gifted,
Mhm.
because our parents weren't. So
No.
moving onwards now, so you've seen this, you've gone for this course, and you're moving forward because things weren't right. What was the next stage for that healing?
So I started to be more open to receive the messages of the universe, God, whatever you want to call it. I recognized that I just kept hearing about Reiki, 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 Reiki. I'm like, finally, I'm just like, what is this Reiki business? Went down rabbit holes, ended up going to get certified in Reiki 1 and 2. And that was a really bizarre, like, wow experience for me. I had an old I had something, a memory come up that I didn't know or remember. It was very healing for me, but also very scary at the same time. And I went on then for my Reiki master. and then Karuna Reiki Holy Fire Master. So I'm as high as I can go as far as Usui Reiki, unless I go for master, what do they call it? Licensed master. But I have no intentions of doing that. But that led to like all these other things I'm doing and got my certifications in. So like biofield tuning, which is sound healing, and we use tuning forks. That gets really into the science of, I love science. That gets into like the science of energy. Fascinating stuff.
Because if I remember right at the beginning, when you wanted to go to college,
Yes.
it was science. Yeah.
Yes. Yep. Clinical lab science. Yep. I love science. And so, yeah, and I'm a skeptic. I am a natural skeptic as well.
Always questioning. Good.
Always questioning. I was the why kid. Why?
How did that happen? Why? Which is good. It's good. It means you don't just accept things and run along. You want to see the ins and out and understand it deeply, which is good.
Yeah.
And how
I always tell my kids when they would ask me something, like, Google that shit. Like, Google that shit. Like, Google. Love Google. Anyway. But yeah, I don't know where I was going with that. Oh, the science. Yeah.
Different things you're now doing, and you're Reiki and going. So you've got the trauma, you're doing Reiki, you're doing the sound healing with the forks. What's else you doing?
Yeah. And UMAP, I got a UMAP certification. So what I was finding with people that were going through grief recovery, even myself, like, how do you articulate what your strengths are? How do values come into play in how you experience grief? Like, if you value honesty, but the people around you are not reciprocating that honesty, I mean, there's grief there. If you value freedom, but you don't experience freedom in your life, you're violating your own value of freedom. Exactly. So we talk about values, and the UMAP it's made up of 4 different assessments. Kristen Sherry's the one that developed it. It's one of the assessments is the Clifton strengths. So you get your 4 top strength, your 5 top strengths. And then also 3 other assessments that make up a UMAP. So your preferred skills, least preferred skills, and then how you're wired, like your personality. And it kind of helps people who have gone through the grief recovery, especially like if you're a woman in transition, or like career-wise, or you want to, it's like you've addressed all this baggage, this emotional baggage. Now what? Like, you feel, because people feel a renewed sense of confidence after they go through this process. I know I did, and I know countless people who have gone through it also feel the same. And so UMAP is kind of like a guide in how to live by your values, and then how to articulate what you bring to the table, what you bring to relationships, what you bring to the workplace, all of those things. And then I'm also now in a human design certification reader program. So human design has been something I've been exploring for the past 5-6 years. I started with Gene Keys, actually, and then dove into human design. But learning about my human design as a 4/6 emotional manifestor type, which is only 9% of the population are manifestors, I understood a lot about my childhood, and also my relationship to anger, because a manifestor's not self theme is anger. And we are shamed for our anger. Most people are shamed for their anger, but I've learned really how to use anger as my alert system. Anger is my alert system. If something's not working, my anger is going to show up. Wow. And yeah, so it's been really wonderful. Another way for me to understand myself. And my all-time favorite quote is by Kristen Sherry. The more you know yourself, the less you look to others to tell you who you are.
Thank you. You are so right. You just said something about using your anger as a way, as an alarm to really look, what is it? And it's true. Whatever is triggering that anger, because obviously something is affecting you so much, and you're giving that thing a power, it means it's important to you. Why is it important to you? Why is that happening? And I do that too. I look when I'm getting annoyed, I'm thinking, why? And then I start to question it. Especially generally 90% of the time, it is to do with somebody else. But is it to do with somebody else, or is it to do about you?
Well, and the different energy types. So like there's manifestors, there's manifesting generators, projectors, reflectors. Each of them have their not self theme. So like it could be like satisfaction. So like peace is my self theme. So when I'm at peace, that's peace. The opposite is anger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Frustration versus satisfaction for another type. So yeah, it's been really fun to explore that and bring that into my work actually with the people I work with.
So Victoria, how do you work with people? How do people get to contact you? What are you doing? Are you doing retreats? Are you doing classes? Come on, let's see what you're doing and how people can connect with you.
I primarily work with people one-on-one, remotely, and either through my Do Grief Differently program, which is a 12-session program. And that's where you explore 2 of your most difficult relationships and become emotionally complete with those relationships by the end of the 12 weeks. It includes the UMAP in it and anything else I feel would be beneficial. So any insights about your human design with your UMAP, things like that. I also do energy healing. That's pretty much one-on-one as well, remotely. I would love to show up at retreats and share my expertise and be a part of retreats. That's very much on my goals, one of my goals. I do have a podcast. It's called Grieving Voices. I currently am on a sabbatical from that. I felt it was time to take a creative pause and just assess and reassess like where I wanted that to go. I did it daily or weekly for 5 years. So lots of episodes there. But I'm currently working on a new podcast project that feels more like a legacy project. And so that's actually in the works right now. So I don't think I'll be bringing the Grieving Voices back anytime soon, but because I'll be working on this other project that really has me, it's been really pulling at my heartstrings for a few months, and I'm finally like going for it. So, yeah.
So how does one connect with you? How do our readers reach out and connect with you?
Yeah, on my website, everything's on there, theunleashedheart.com. I've got a lot of free resources, a lot of free ebooks. The podcast is on there. I got a free energy quiz. I got a free grief quiz. It kind of plays like a matchmaker to, if you're not sure what you need, it kind of matches you to what my offerings are, because I have meditations on there that I have as well. Lots of resources to meet you where you are at.
Lovely. Can you just repeat your website again, please?
Yes, theunleashedheart.com.
Fine. So before we say thank you, because it's been interesting and your journey going through, can you leave us with a nugget or 2 of advice for those listening who are going through their journey?
I think what I needed that I didn't have, like, you're not going to get it necessarily from other people. I think you have to feel it internally, but hope. I think you really have to hold on to the hope that whatever you are experiencing, that it is temporary, that it is possible to have lighter, brighter days, that it is possible to thrive, to meet your potential. I think that's it's actually one of my fears, is that I will die not meeting my own potential. And so I think, just, like you said, it's like the dash, it's so short. Like, it's so short. We are here for such a short period of time. And it's like, do you want to spend it stuck in the past? Or do you want to thrive in the present? And so, yeah, hope. You just got to find what works for you and just keep on looking.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Victoria. And as Victoria said, hope. Things can change, but it's down to us to recognize it and realize, from my point of view, that you are never, ever alone. We are an extension of the Creator. I call it God. Some call it the mystic law, the universal mindset, the universal intelligence. It is the one and the only one power of unconditional love, of which we were created from. And when you can go back and connect to that source, there's always hope. It's just that we've lost our way and we've forgotten. And we're going through what we're going through because we have to reconnect. And like Victoria, she came to a point and she was blaming God for everything. She hated God. And yet at one stage she stopped and prayed to God for somebody to come into her life that was good for her. And the next person that came was her present day husband, and they've been married for 24 years. So it was actually stopping and reconnecting to that same power that she hated, because it was time for her to connect and love. So hope, and remember, the Creator is always there for us. We just need to reach out. So I say thank you to my guest, Victoria. Thank you for sharing your journey with us. It was lovely. Thank you for all those who are listening. And I say bye for now. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.